In Suffolk County, England, there is a remote forest in the village of Rendlesham that has become famous for being the site of one of the most extraordinary UFO encounters ever reported. And some of those who experienced it believe this incident also involved time travel. The event occurred on December 26, 1980. Airman John Burroughs was performing a routine security check at a U.S. Air Force base when he received orders to investigate a possible downed aircraft.
My supervisor called me on the radio and asked me to meet up with him so we could check the east gate. We were driving down the road leading to the east gate to check on it when all of a sudden he saw some strange lights in the forest. So I decided to call it in and let him know something strange was going on. They decided to send one of the security units down, which was Sergeant Peniston. He got down there and he saw the same strange lights that we were seeing.
I could see all these multiple color lights and things like that, and the air felt different. I don't know how to really explain that, but it did feel like there was electricity on our skin and hair and stuff. But that progressively got worse the closer we got to the tree line, and it got more intense.
There seemed to be like an electricity-charged atmosphere, and then also there were points where it seemed like everything was going in slow motion.
As the servicemen approached the strange lights, Sergeant Peniston reportedly saw a large craft just beyond the tree line.
The craft was triangular in shape, measuring about 6 to 7 feet high, black in color. I had come around to the far side of the craft, and that's when I noticed that there was, inscription on the side. It is about 3 feet long, maybe 6 inches high. So I'm expecting to find, I don't know, some kind of prototype stuff, USAF. I'm looking for something very familiar. Instead of something familiar, I see these pictorial type glyphs, and got running my hand over the side of the craft. I don't know how to explain this. It's like someone was holding a picture up, okay? I could see it in my mind's eye. Zeros and ones. So I recorded those, one after another.
When Peniston touched the craft, he then said that he felt a strange download of information to his mind, and he felt compelled the next day to write down a series of zeros and ones, which we now regard as binary code.
Years later, a computer programmer took this information, ran it through a translation program, and a message emerged. The message read, "Exploration of humanity, continuous for planetary advance, eyes of your eyes, origin year 8100. When one sees origin year 8100, one is forced to speculate, might we be looking not just at extraterrestrials, but time travelers from the future?
After the incident, the U.S. military conducted a brief investigation, but allegedly tried to keep the eyewitnesses away from the press. But for Airman Burroughs and Officer Peniston, the event wasn't easy to leave behind. Both men had lasting physical effects from the encounter and even reported strange dreams.
After the incident, I started having throat and eye problems. At one point, my gums turned white. I also had vision problems, and when I went and saw the doctor, one of his first questions was, had I been ever exposed to radiation? I've definitely had dreams about it, and I still have feelings about what happened and what could happen in the future.
I got out of service in 1993. Then I was out about maybe 3 months, and then I started getting these dreams and nightmares. During the dreams, I could see that these were time travelers 40 to 50,000 years in the future. I see that the purpose to come back was to correct things, was to fix things. Something horrible has happened. Something I have to correct. But it requires time travel. It requires going back into the past. I never had a feeling of it being extraterrestrial. It's always been that they were simply us in the future.
Could it be that the craft reportedly witnessed by James Penniston and John Burroughs came not from a distant star, but from a distant point in time? Sandreesloe, Wales, January 23rd, 1974. Late in the evening, this quiet rural village in the Berwyn Mountains is rocked by an enormous explosion. 14-year-old Hugh Lloyd is in his home watching television when he feels the impact, and then receives call after call from his neighbors, most claiming to have seen an incredibly bright light falling from the sky and then glowing on the mountainside. Today, Hugh Lloyd still works on his father's ranch in Sandreesloe.
Are you Hugh?
Yeah?
Ancient astronaut theorist Georgios Tsoukalos and Nick Pope, a former UFO investigator for the British Ministry of Defense, met up with Hugh to get his take on what really happened that night.
Can you tell us your experience?
Well, I was home with my two sisters and my neighbor. We were basically watching television, and there was this, like a thud. And next thing, the whole place started shaking quite violently. You know, this like earth tremor. And then we were all a bit stunned. We'd never experienced anything like that before. And next thing, we went outside just to check the cattle and animals were okay. Got back in the house, and the phone started ringing. It was all neighbors and things, you know, saying, what the hell was that? Are you okay? You put the phone down, and another neighbor would phone.
Your neighbors called you to ask you if you're okay, so they pretty much had similar experiences.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So you're not the only one.
No.
And you were 14 years old.
Yeah.
How did your parents react?
Well, they went home, they were in the next village, and they'd felt it there as well.
And what time of evening was this?
It was roughly 20 to 9.
So, you know, some people have suggested that, well, it was nothing else but an earthquake.
Yeah.
Which I don't subscribe to this idea, but have you had any earthquakes around here?
Nothing like that, no. But at the time, they were trying to say that the lights people had seen were people with, what do you call them, lamping, you know, after foxes and rabbits.
You saw that light, and it was much, much brighter than people lamping. Yeah. I mean, it was something almost blinding.
Well, I've never seen a light like it before, and I've never seen anything like it since.
Wow.
According to ancient astronaut theorists, what really happened in the Berwyn Mountains that night was the crash of an extraterrestrial spacecraft. Yucca Flat, Nevada, May 19th, 1953. At 5:05 a.m., one of a series of nuclear tests under the umbrella codenamed Upshot Knothole is set off. Within seconds of the blast, a disc-shaped object is seen rapidly descending from the sky, headed south toward Las Vegas, then disappearing into the mountains. Just 2 days after this event, government officials secretly gathered a team of scientists for a curious assignment. They were to investigate the crash of an unidentified flying object on the outskirts of Kingman, Arizona, a city 175 miles south of the nuclear test site.
There were 40 engineers that boarded a bus, and they took a long 3.5-hour ride from Phoenix to Kingman. When they got there, it was nighttime. There were MPs on all corners of the craft. It's about a 40-foot diameter dish-shaped craft that was perfectly intact. There wasn't a scratch on it. There were 4 beings associated with this craft, and they shipped it to Groom Lake.
Groom Lake is the Area 51 region in Nevada. When Area 51 was just bare bones, they took the craft and the aliens out to that location in the middle of the Nevada desert because it was so remote. And around that, they built Area 51.
Hidden within a ring of mountains deep in the Nevada desert, Area 51 is a top-secret military installation that has long been rumored to hold evidence of alien technology. And there are even stories that a special facility at Area 51 once held a survivor of the 1953 Kingman UFO crash, an alien entity known as J-Rod.
J-Rod is an alien who allegedly worked at Area 51 over a period of years, and it was J-Rod's mission or duty to help reverse engineer technology that was apparently from the 1953 Kingman UFO crash. J-Rod was one of the crash survivors and worked directly with our own government.
Captain Bill Uhouse, a former Navy pilot who later worked for the U.S. Air Force performing experimental testing on aircraft, was assigned to Area 51 in the mid-1960s. And he claims that he not only studied the craft that allegedly crashed in Kingman, Arizona, but also had direct contact with J-Rod.
We had a long period of introduction into meeting, you know, an alien. And I called him J-Rod. That's the name that the linguist gave him. And he would talk, but he'd sound just like, if you spoke, he'd sound like you. You know, he's like one of the, you know, a parrot, you know, but he'd try and answer your question, you know. Basically, it was only engineering advice or science advice.
There's also another whistleblower by the name of Dan Burish. And Dan Burish said that he was hired as a microbiologist to basically care for J-Rod, ensuring that he remained healthy. And this went on for years and years and years.
According to Dan Burish and Bill Uhouse, J-Rod was housed in a special underground chamber at Area 51. And there have been numerous other accounts of extraterrestrials working with the United States government. April 2011. The FBI releases thousands of files as part of its online FBI vault. One particular file draws the attention of the media and independent researchers. The memo, dated March 22, 1950, is a briefing to FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover regarding informant information about 3 flying saucers that were recovered in New Mexico. Investigators immediately connect the memo to the infamous Roswell incident, a purported UFO crash that many people believe was covered up by the military in 1947. But this document is just the latest in a series of government files that have been released in recent years, suggesting there may be more to the Roswell crash than the public was told.
As an investigative reporter, I think what I am amazed by is how many leaked documents from the 1940s have actually come out into the world and lay out details about what really happened at Roswell. On July 4th, a rancher named Mac Brazel finds all kinds of strange silver debris. He knows he doesn't understand what he's walking through. He decides to go into Roswell and tell the sheriff, something has crashed on my ranch. Intel coming out of Roswell Army Airfield get assigned to go to the debris field. And these men are told that they are to pick up every single thing that is in the debris field on the Mac Brazel Ranch. Everything is to be picked up.
On July 8, 1947, the headline on the front page of the Roswell Daily Record reports that the military had retrieved a flying saucer. But the following day, the official story is suddenly changed to suggest it was nothing more than a failed weather balloon.
Roswell was the home of the 509th Bomb Group. This was the only atomic bomb-capable squadron anywhere in the world. These people were the best of the best. The idea that intelligence personnel at this base would mistake a weather balloon for something exotic is preposterous. So that, arguably, is the start of the UFO cover-up.
Weather balloon, swamp gas, meteorite, it doesn't matter. It's always something else but a UFO. The Roswell crash was covered up. The fact that they retracted the story of having captured a flying saucer, in my opinion, it was quick PR damage control.
World was told, nope, just a weather balloon. And for more than 30 years, that's where it was left, until witnesses started to surface, saying, no, it was actually an extraterrestrial craft. And people saw alien bodies.
In April of 2014, ancient astronaut theorist Georgios Tsoukalos traveled to Walker Air Force Base in Roswell, New Mexico, to meet with the city's mayor, Del Journey, and to get a rare look at the hangar where the Roswell wreckage and extraterrestrial bodies were allegedly first taken.
Wow. This is huge.
So what do you think?
Man, I have goosebumps right now. I mean, we're walking on history.
It's amazing, isn't it?
And are you familiar where the spot is, where they actually...
Well, you know, the information that I have says that it's probably right over here in the corner. They took them over there, did an examination of the bodies.
So this is where it was.
This is it. Yeah, come on in. They have the debris out here in the hangar area, and they bring the bodies inside this room.
I really don't know what to say, because, I mean, if this was it...
You're standing where,
yeah.
Where extraterrestrial beings
might have been. Where did the debris go? Where did it end up?
Well, it ended up with the government, of course. And they have it well preserved in a military installation someplace.